Hello, today I'm going to look at a SPI game that appeared in Ares magazine. So, Omega War. For early classic sci-fi board games, it's hard to beat the ones that were in Ares magazine. I've looked at several, and I have several more I'll be looking at. At some point, Barbarian Kings, Nightmare House, which is pretty hard to find, Albion, Stainless Steel Rat, and some others. But today I'll be looking at Omega War from 1983. It appeared in their magazine number 14. As always, subscriptions are appreciated, and if you want to get notified when I post new review plays, just hit the notify button. And the copyrights by TSR in 1983, I assume that's during the period where SPI was going through the transition to TSR. Credits: Game Design Development, Dave James Ritchie; Graphic Design, Christine Bartziel; Rules Editing, Deborah Campbell Ritchie; Illustration, Timothy Truman; Production, Anne Gray, Timothy Kilpin, Dave LaForce; Playtesting, Neil Hall, Dick Hammer, Bill Watkins, and friends. Also, there's a great illustrated story that's in this magazine to give background. The story developed by David James Ritchie and Timothy Truman, with the illustration by Timothy Truman. Some overview here. Armageddon 2121, the year the missiles fell. North America, Europe, Japan, North Africa, the Middle East, and the Soviet Union, and northern China were devastated. The world economy was in ruins. As the government of those nations, still intact, struggled to restore order, apparently primarily in the southern hemisphere. Conviction grew that such wholesale destruction must never happen again. At the Rio Conference of 2122, delegates from 96 different nations penned their signatures to the Charter of the World Union, an international organization designed to regulate conflict among nations. The Union, according to its charter, had the sole right to possess nuclear weapons of any kind. As its first official act, the Grand Assembly of the World Union voted to assume the administration of the so-called devastated zone of North America, Europe, and the Soviet Union. And this remained in place for 300 years. And then the Omega War, which is this game, happens from 2419 to 2421, so some 300 years after the Armageddon. In the role of international policemen, the Union kept a garrison of heavily armed troops supported by air fleets in North America to keep the natives in line. Then came Omega. At first it was just a symbol, but by the winter of 2419, its meaning was clear. Omega, an ending to foreign exploitation. Omega was debated. The first slave revolt broke out on July 4th. Omega War is a two-player game, strategic warfare for control of North America in the 25th century. One player, the Union player, takes the role of the High Commissioner of North America, controls the forces of the World Union. The other player, the Rebel player, takes the role of the Directorate of the Secret Organization of the Secret Omega Organization and controls the native forces opposing the World Union. And in the magazine there's this awesome illustrated background here, illustrated story by Timothy Truman and Dave Ritchie, and illustrated by Timothy Truman. The Braskan Gamut, the attack on New Lab, from the saga of the Omega War. Won't go through all of it, but just show you how great it looks. Got rebels with mutants, their various creatures attacking the strongholds of the World Union. Excellent illustrations. Really great background. And as is normal for these games that appear in Ares magazine, the map and counter sheet are included within the magazine, and they don't include dice, so I'll just use a couple small SPI dice I got out there. Components. First of all, the rules. So you have to get past that interesting background material. Get to the rules, and it's 15 pages. Black and white, a lot of great illustrations. Here's all the counters, a lot of them, like 200, but I think they're well done. They're two-sided. I clip them. I don't often clip them, but this is the clipper I use. I don't know what brand it is, but it does a good job. The counters are generally two-sided, and here's the front and back of the unique counters. For the units, the general framework is you have the name, type, attack rating, defense rating, movement rating, and range. And then on the back you have similar name, type, and the other categories. If there's a name type, if there's names are just for kind of flavor, don't have any effect. But if there's a XX as part of the unit's name, it means that the unit is a division. If a mobile unit or a fleet if an air unit. The different unit types illustrated by the picture have different capabilities. If the type symbol box is colored in, different than the rest of the counter, for instance, this one's colored in, this one isn't. If it's colored in, the unit counts as half a unit for purposes of combat die roll modifications. The attack rating, the unit's ability to attack enemy units. Defense rating, numbers showing the unit's ability to defend itself when attacked by enemy units. Range, the number showing the maximum distance in hexes that can separate the units from an enemy unit is attacking or friendly unit is supporting. If there's a patch of color over the unit's range, the unit's attack rating is halved for all purposes and range is greater than 1. Movement rating, the number showing the unit's ability to move across the map. It's movement points which are expended when the unit moves. In general, it costs 1 movement point to enter a clear hex, and then other movement points for different types of hexes. And some units have a color bar along the bottom of their piece, such as here. Units of this bar have a zone of control which inhibits the movement and supply of enemy units. And some of the numbers on the front and back are different, of course. The back side is generally the unit at reduced strength, and the front is at full strength. There's 3 classes of units. There's air units, mobile units, and land units, and there's also markers. But the air units are fleets of huge cigar-shaped airships and their landborne support crews. 3 types of battle units, which are battle fleets, shown here. 12 large vessels similar to missile cruisers, and then patrol fleets here are 24 vessels similar to missile frigates. Then assault fleets are 18 large, similar to 20th century battleships. They're all armed with, all types of vessels are armed with lasers and ballistic cannon for anti-missile defense, sheathed in armor, and they're equipped with a variety of sophisticated missiles capable of delivering ballistic, sonic, or NBC warheads. But only assault fleets carry tactical nuclear warheads, and only in small numbers. Mobile units. So only the Union player's air units. Air units may move only during the Union march phase. So this represents a change of base, not a movement of ships through the air. When on reduced strength, air units count as a half unit for combat purposes, but they lose their ability to attack. And then mobile units include these units. So these are the air units, and then these are the mobile units. Include these up to here. So all these are mobile units. They're divisions, brigades, and rebel gangs equipped for native Earth movement via hovercraft or personal jetpacks. Mobile units are indicated by a black band at the bottom of the unit's type symbol. 5 types of mobile units. It's Union light divisions. These. Heavy divisions. Union strike divisions. And then these are all rebel gangs. Different colors indicating different groups. Rebel hardware brigades. Different color coding for different groups. And then mutant legions. Each player controls different unit types. Only the Union player has light, heavy, and strike divisions. Only the rebel player has gangs and hardware brigades. Mutant legions may only be recruited by the Union player, but the rebel player may gain control of the Union player's mutant legions during play. The front of each mutant legion piece is flipped over when the unit is controlled by the Union player. Except for their different color, the front and back of all mutant legions are the same. The backs of all mobile units, other than mutant legions, show the unit at reduced strength. Now, in some cases, units at reduced strength lose the color bar indicating that they have a zone of control and/or gain a color patch over their unit type symbol to indicate that they count as only half a unit for combat purposes while at reduced strength. And these are land units. The partisan columns are 6,000, 8,000 equipped with ground vehicles and hovercraft. Front and then back. The backs of partisan columns are ruin markers. Nomad hordes can show different colors for different groups. Consist of 8 to 10,000 nomad warriors mounted on war boars, armed with lasers, blasters, and small missiles. These are the land units in front and back. Land units may only attack enemy pieces that are next to them. They may expand their entire movement rating to move during a friendly march phase or exploitation phase. They may not move during a reaction phase. The front and back of each nomad horde is identical except for color. Nomad hordes are kept face up when controlled by the Union player and back face up when controlled by the rebel player. Both players may recruit nomad hordes. And then these are game kind of tracking markers. The game turn marker, level marker, revolt marker. The flip side of the revolt marker is the ruin marker. Here's the map. Got a lot going on here. I think it's well done. I can see where it might be too colorful for some, but personally I like it. It's 22 inches by 34. It's on like a poster kind of paper. Each hexagon is an area 130 kilometers across. Here's the train key. Shows the movement point cost during clear weather and fall weather, the CNF there. If more than, this is of the train you're entering. In the combat results table, results before the slash are steps lost by the attacking units. Numbers after the slash are the steps lost by defenders' units. the turn record track. Keeps track of time, weather, nomad, winter attrition, the appearance of rebel reinforcements. Each track box represents a month. Box shaded blue are fall weather game turns and governed by those rules, and the unshaded boxes are clear weather game turns, which aren't governed by any special rules. Boxes containing a warren symbol indicating turns in which the rebel player gets reinforcements. Those containing a totem symbol indicate turns in which all nomad hordes are temporarily removed from the game. Then there's the abbreviated sequence of play. Political index, used to record the revolution's progress. Numbered 1 through 50. Stage changes during play. The player's capabilities also change. There's settlements. There's 4 types of settlements. Warrens, for instance here. Bubbles. Metros. And domes. Warrens are under the control of the rebel player. From the time the clan hold they are in rises until the warren is destroyed in combat. While other settlements are controlled by the Union player at the start of the game and stay under his control until they revolt or are destroyed. The destruction of a settlement is noted by placing a ruin marker. It sucks. Placing a ruin marker in a warren means that the warren ceases to exist for the rest of the game. Placing a ruin marker on any other type of settlement means the settlement ceases to exist for all purposes except movement and indexing the combat ratio on the combat results table. Union metros. There are 3 metros on the map. New Denver, New Ottawa, and Iowa. There are 2 million plus population dome cities. Each metro has a political rating, PR, printed on the bottom of its hex. For instance here. In addition, each metro also has 3 numbers under its name. These are the attack rating, defense rating, and range. Union domes, there's 14 domes. They're vast mechanized mining factory or farming complex. Each is a political rating, attack rating, defense rating, and range. Then there's also the Union bubbles. There's only one Union bubble on the map, which is New Roads, shown there. It's a vast undersea aquacultural plant, important city. The bubble has a political rating, attack rating, defense rating, and range. Warrens. These are the black squares. Spreads over scores of kilometers. They're underground settlements. Each warren contains 2 numbers, which for the left hand is the defense rating, and the right hand number is the political rating. Barrier hexes. These are the barrier hexes. The world unit maintains the barriers to protect its agricultural settlements in the Great Plains from the clans of Eastern North America. Totems. For instance, here are towering monoliths of carved rock dotting the plains and are meeting places and trading grounds where the various nomad hordes gather for festivals and to exchange artifacts and pelts for the technological devices offered by World Union traders. And the various clan holds. There's Columbia, Canelian, Mechlin, Sarkin, Nosia, Ute, Bama, Scotia, and Yorkin. Each clanhold consists of a part of the continent claimed by the gangs making up that clan. Within each hold will be found one or more warrens where the industrial strength of clans is centered. The Union player may move in and out of the various clan holds. The rebel player's ability to move in and out of a particular clan hold is limited until the clan hold has arisen. Once the clan hold rises, the rebel player gains control of the units attached to that clan hold and may move in and out of it, get reinforcements in the clan hold, etc. Reserves. There's 3 reserves shown on the map. Wyoming, Dakota, and Nebraska. Each reserve is claimed by the nomadic hordes of a particular nation, similar to a clan. Each reserve contains one or more totems. Both players' units may freely move in and out of reserves throughout the game. Borders. The dashed lines on the map are the borders between clan holds and reserves. The rebel players' units are limited in their ability to cross some borders. Waste hexes. These are the reddish-orange ones, the reddish-orange areas. These are the sites of pre-Holocaust cities, industrial zones, and research centers which were hit by multiple nuclear warheads. They're occupied by small bands of mutants. Folktales about the Holocaust make them taboo to all nomads and most other non-mutants. Begins with a July 24-19 game turn. Sequence of play. First, the Union recruitment phase. The Union player finds out how many new steps worth of units gets this turn by reading across the new steps through the political index. The Union player flips over any of his supplied reduced strength units he wants to their full strength side, expending 1 new step. The Union player picks which Union units not on the map, other than the mutant legions or nomads, will be placed on the map this phase, expending 1 new step for each new unit entering the game with its reduced strength, and 2 new steps for each new unit entering the game with its full strength. Units entering the game are placed on any friendly settlement, any number per hex. Enter the game. ER units may not be placed in the Union bubble. Special option: twice per game the Union player may choose to skip steps 1 through 3 of this phase and rebuild 1 destroyed Union dome instead. Only domes that contain a Union strike division and which do not have any rebel units next to them may be rebuilt. The domes PR is added to the PI level. For if this PI stage is A, skip this step, otherwise the Union player reads across the mutants row the political index to the column showing the current PI stage. The number before the slash is the number of times he must immediately roll 1 die. For each die roll that is less than or equal to the number after the slash, the Union player places a mutant legion in any unoccupied waste hex anywhere on the map. 5. If the PI stage is A, B, or C, or if it is a foul weather turn, skip this step. Otherwise, the Union player reads across the U nomads row of the political index to the column showing the current PI stage. The number before the slash is the number of times he must immediately roll 1 die. For each die roll that is less than or equal to the number after the slash, the Union player places 1 nomad horde, drawn at random, or any totem in that horde's reserve. B. Rebel political phase. If the PI stage is E or all clans that can rise have risen, skip this step, otherwise the rebel player must check to see if a clan hold rises. 2. The rebel player of Union-controlled settlements that must be checked for revolt during this step. The bubble is always automatically destroyed when a revolt occurs in this hex. If the PI stage is C, D, or E, or if it is a foul weather turn, skip this step. Otherwise, the rebel player reads across the R nomads row of the political index to the current PI stage. The number before the slash is the number of dice they must immediately roll. For each die roll result that is less than or equal to the number after the slash, he randomly draws 1 nomad horde and places it in any totem within its reserve that isn't occupied by 1 or more enemy units. 4. If the PI stage is C, D, or E, skips a step. Otherwise, the rebel player or mutant legions and or nomad hordes in the rebel player must check or forward defection during this step. 5. If the weather is clear, the rebel player places one partisan column on each revolt marker on the map that isn't flipped over to its ruin marker side. If the weather is foul, the partisans are placed only on revolt markers and hexes south of the weather line. 6. On any game term from January 2420 until the end of the game, the rebel player may announce that he is forming a continental army, into which the mobile units of all clans will be drafted. Upon making this announcement, the rebel player rolls one die and immediately adds the result to the PI level. For the rest of the game, the rebel player may ignore the -1 die roll modification normally required when the rebel mobile units from more than one clan are attacking the same hex. In addition, rebel gangs and hardware brigades may, for the rest of the game, freely trace a line of supply to the warrens in any clan hold that has risen. C. Rebel March Phase. The rebel player determines which of his units are supplied by tracing a supply line from the unit to any friendly supply source within the unit's supply range. The rebel player moves any or all of his supplied units that he wants to up to their full movement rating, paying appropriate terrain and zone of control entry costs, ZOC entry costs. Unsupplied units may expend only half their movement rating, round down, to move during this phase. Then Rebel Combat Phase. The rebel player announces which of his units, if any, will attack Union units during this phase, and which Union units will be attacked by each of his units. The Union player announces which Union air units, domes, or metros that are not being attacked during this phase will provide support to the Union units under attack, and which units they will support. Only units that are supplied at the moment of combat is resolved may provide the support allocated. The rebel player individually resolves each attack announced in step 1. In doing so, he must figure the combat ratio for the attack. Union reaction phase. 1. The Union player determines which of his units are supplied by tracing a supply line from the unit to any friendly supply source. The Union player moves any or all of his supplied mobile units up to half their movement rating, round down, paying appropriate terrain and ZOC entry costs. Mobile units may employ mass converters to teleport between friendly settlements. Rebel Exploitation Phase. The rebel player determines which of his units are supplied by tracing a supply line from the unit to any friendly supply source within the unit's supply range. The rebel player moves any or all of his supplied mobile and land units up to their full movement rating. Union March Phase. The Union player determines which of his units are supplied by tracing a supply line from the unit to any friendly supply source. The Union player moves any or all of his supply units up to full movement rating. Unsupplied units may expend only half their movement rating, round down, to move. Units may teleport between friendly settlements and strike divisions during this phase, paying all or part of their MPs their movement points to do so. Rebel Reaction Phase. The rebel player determines which of his units are supplied by tracing a supply line from the units to any friendly supply source within the unit's supply range. The rebel player moves any or all of the supplied mobile units up to half their movement rating. Union Combat Phase. The Union player announces which of his units, if any, will attack this phase, and which rebel units each will attack. The Union player individually resolves each combat. Union Exploitation Phase. The Union player determines which of his units are supplied by tracing a supply line from the unit to any friendly supply source. The Union player moves any or all of his supplied mobile and land units up to their full movement rating. Rebel Reinforcement Phase. The rebel player checks the turn record track to see if he is due reinforcements this game turn. If the box occupied by the game turn marker contains a colored square, the rebel player does get reinforcements and should proceed to step 2 of this phase. 2. The rebel player adds 4 steps of the appropriate clan to his forces as if they get reinforcements. His forces for each of the clan's warrens that are not destroyed. New units are placed on any warren in their clan hold without a ruin marker, but no more than 4 steps worth of units may be placed per hex. game turn record phase. If the PI level indicated on the political index is less than 5 or greater than 45, or if the game turn marker is in the last box of the turn record track, November 24-21, the game is over and the winner is determined. Otherwise, proceed with the game. If it is a December game turn, remove all nomad hordes from the map and put them back in their opaque container. This represents the migration of the nomads to their winter camps. If New Denver contains a ruin or revolt marker, the PI stages B, C, D, or E, or if the Union player has previously activated his orbital strike station, skip this step. Otherwise, the Union player must announce whether he is activating the World Union system of missile-armed orbital strike stations. If he chooses to activate this system, he rolls a die and immediately subtracts the result from the PI level. For the rest of the game, the Union player may, in each Union combat phase, attack any one stack of enemy units anywhere on the map with his network of orbital strike stations. The network has an attack rating of 60, which is never modified for any reason. It may attack alone or together with other Union units, but it never suffers any combat losses. Units attacking together with the network suffer combat losses normally. If New Denver revolts or is destroyed, the Union player cannot use this orbital strike station network to attack for the rest of the game. 4. If the PI stage is C, D, or E, or if the Union player has previously announced that he is using the nuclear option, skip this step. Otherwise, the Union player must announce whether he is using the nuclear option. If he chooses to do so, he rolls a die and immediately subtracts the result from the PI level. For the rest of the game, all Union assault fleets automatically use nuclear weapons when attacking during the Union combat phase. 2 is added to the die roll whenever one or more Union assault fleets are participating in an attack. There is no additional modification if more than one assault fleet is participating in the same attack. 5. With the game turn marker, add one box on the turn record track. Then how to win. There are 3 possible ways to win the game. 1. If the game ends because the PI level was greater than 45, the Union player wins a decisive victory. If the game ends because the PI level is less than 5, and the rebel player wins a decisive victory. If the game ends because it is the end of November 24-21 game turn, the PI level determines the winners described here. PI level A, the rebels gain control of North America, and the rebel player wins a decisive victory. PI level B, the rebels drive Union forces from the countryside. The rebel player wins a significant victory. PI level C, the rebels gain control of a part of the countryside but fail to defeat World Union forces. The rebel player wins a marginal victory. PI level D, the rebels are beaten in the field but continue to fight a guerrilla war. The Union player wins a marginal victory. PI level E, rebel activity is gradually suppressed. The World Union Grand Assembly keeps control of America. The Union player wins a decisive victory. Zones of control. The 6 hexes surrounding a unit constitute that unit's zone of control. As you'll see, all domes, metros, and units with a color bar on the bottom of their piece have a zone of control. Domes and metros lose their zone of control when a revolt or ruin marker is placed in their hex. Units cannot trace supply through unoccupied hexes in an enemy zone of control and must expend 2 MPs to enter and 1 MP to leave a hex in an enemy zone of control. Combat. During his combat phase, the active player may use any or all of his units to attack enemy units within range. The inactive player may use any or all of his eligible units not under attack to provide support to those units being attacked. Who can attack? Only active players' units may attack enemy units that are within range. A unit is within range of an attacking unit if the distance in hexes between the 2 units is less than or equal to the range printed on the attacking unit's piece. Any number of units may attack the same hex, but no unit may attack and no enemy unit may be attacked more than once in a phase. If more than one enemy unit occupies a hex, all the enemy units stacked in the hex must be attacked in a single combat if any are attacked. Units with an attack rating of 0 can't participate in an attack. They defend normally. For purposes of combat, warrens, metros, domes, and the bubble are treated as units. They may attack and be attacked the same way as unit. The attack and defense ratings and ranges of these hexes remain constant. They are unaffected by supply and range. The Union player may attack warrens inside clan holds that have not yet risen, but such attacks result in the clan hold inside which the warren is located immediately rising and joining the rebel player's forces. Adjust the PI level accordingly. In such situations, the rebel player immediately places 2 units of his choice in each warren of the newly risen clan hold after the Union player has announced all of his attacks for the phase, but before he actually resolves any attacks. Resolving attacks. Follow these steps each time you resolve an attack. Add together the attack ratings of all units attacking a particular enemy occupied hex. Units whose range contains a colored patch have their attack rating halved at ranges greater than 1. Unit patrol fleets have their attack rating halved when attacking units in a warren hex that does not contain a ruin marker. Units that are unsupplied when combat is resolved have their attack rating halved. If a unit's attack rating has to be halved more than once, divided by 4 and round down, unit's attack rating can never be divided by more than 4. If reducing a unit's attack rating would result in a number less than 1, treat the attack rating as 1. Add together the defense rating of all the defending units in the hex and their attack, and add to the total of the attack ratings of all units, providing support to them. Any of the inactive player's air units or settlements that are supplied and are not under attack may provide support to friendly units within range that are under attack. The range of Union patrol fleets is half their printed range for this purpose. The rebel player does not have air units or settlements with an attack rating and may never use this option. Compare the total in step 1 to the total in step 2, the attacker's strength to the defender's strength, and state the comparison as a ratio rounded off in favor of the defender. Find the row in the combat results table representing the type of terrain in the hex occupied by the defender's units. Attacks at combat ratios less than the lowest ratio found in the row are not allowed. Ignore ruin markers for purposes of determining what row in the combat results table should be used to resolve particular combat. The attacker may move any eligible units that he wants to into the defender's hex if that hex is currently empty. The players proceed to the next combat situation that has to be resolved. Die roll modifications. The die roll used to resolve combat is modified as follows. Add 1 if the defender is in a clear or barrier hex, and 1 or more Union heavy divisions are participating in the attack. 1 for each full unit, ignore fractions or settlement in the defender's hex. 2 if the Union player has announced that he is using the nuclear option, and 1 or more assault fleets are participating in the attack during the Union combat phase. Subtract 2 if the hex center attack is north of the weather line during a foul weather game turn. 1. Subtract 1 if the rebel player is using mobile units from more than 1 clan to attack the hex, and he has not announced the formation of a continental army. All modifications are cumulative, but modified die rolls less than 0 are treated as 0, and die rolls greater than 7 are treated as 7. Resolving combat losses. Those units providing support may never be made to suffer any losses as a result of combat. The number before the slash on the combat results table refers to the attacker's losses, and the number after the slash refers to the defender's losses. If the net die roll modification was greater than +4, the defender loses an additional step for each modification above 4. For example, if the net die roll modification was +6, the defender would lose an additional 2 steps. In cases where warren, bubble, dome, or metro is under attack, a ruin marker is automatically placed in the hex if the defender suffers 1 or more step losses in a single attack which cannot be satisfied by the elimination of the units occupying the hex. Domes and metros that participate in an attack against inactive enemy units are never affected by the results of that attack. Advance after combat. After all losses resulting from an attack have been removed, the active player may enter the defender's hex with any of his mobile and or land units that participate in the attack and are still adjacent to the defender's hex. Such an advance after combat is permitted only under the following conditions. The defender's hex was vacated by the elimination of all enemy units in the hex, and the defender's hex does not contain a settlement that isn't destroyed. Weather. Certain game turns, shade blue in the turn record track, are fall weather turns. These rules apply to their effect on the game. In fall weather, the cost to enter and trace supply through certain hexes increased. The triad roll used to resolve combats is reduced by 2 for all attacks against defenders north of the weather line. Area units occupying hexes north of the weather line may not provide support. Domes and metros are unaffected. Nomad hordes may not be recruited by either player. All nomad hordes are removed from the map during each December game turn because they're going to their winter camps. No new nomad hordes are added until next May game turn. The rebel player gets no new partisan columns and revolt markers north of the weather line in the rebel political phase. Add the PR of a destroyed dome whenever the Union player rebuilds the dome instead of receiving new steps. A number between 1 and 6. Add a number between 1 and 6 if the rebel player announces that he is forming a continental army. Subtract the PR of any metro, bubble, or dome whenever revolt marker is placed in the hex. Subtract the PR of any Union settlement that not in revolt whenever the rebel player destroys the settlement in combat. Subtract the PR of all undestroyed warrants inside a clan hold whenever the clan hold rises. Subtract the number between 1 and 6 if the Union player announces that he is activating his orbital strike stations. Subtract the number between 1 and 6 if the Union player announces that he is using the nuclear option. Effects of the PI level change. Changes in PI level as a result of the performance of any of the above game functions are made immediately, but they do not affect any remaining die rolls during the step in which the change occurs. Now I'll get into the setup and play of the full game. Getting set up here for play. So the Union player will sit at the north edge of the board. The Rebel player will be in the south edge. Place the game turn marker on July 24/19. Put the political index marker on 50. Union player randomly draws one revolt marker. Place it on any Union dome. And the Union player has to put it on a Union dome within a clan hold, not a reserve, and Mechlon is a clan hold, so we'll put it there. The Rebel player randomly draws a revolt marker. And this one has a defensive 10. He can put it on a Union dome in any reserve or clan hold. And he'll put it in the reserve in Nebraska. And the defense rating is changed from 12 of New Lub to 10. And with those two Union domes in revolt, then you reduce the political index so it's more favorable for the Rebel player by the political rating of each. And in Pazzo, the political rating was 2, so you mark the political index down 2. In New Lub, the political rating is 1, so you mark it down 1 more. Now we're down to 47 political index. And then the Rebel player puts a partisan column in each of the 2 Union domes that are in revolt. Then the Union player should take 32 units of his choice other than mutant legions and place 2 of these at full strength in each Union settlement without a revolt marker, and then place 1 mutant legion in each metro and 1 mutant legion in each bubble. And there's no air units that can be placed in the bubble. Here's the mutant legions. You have the 32 Union units chose. Got a mix of air units here. Got battle fleets, patrol fleets, assault fleets. Then for mobile units, Union light divisions, Union heavy divisions, and Union strike divisions. Place the 32 Union units full strength up, 2 in each Union settlements that aren't in revolt. And settlements are bubbles, metros, and domes. And there's also warrens, but warrens aren't Union settlements. So I did that, and I generally placed a mobile unit with an air unit. Then you place 1 mutant legion in each of the metros and Union bubble. Bubbles here in Rhodes. The metros are New Denver, New Iowa, New Ottawa. Then the Union player picks one of the 9 clan holds that'll be under where the clan hold has risen, which means it's under the rebel player's control. And he'll choose Bama. And then choosing that one because he has forces there and he feels he may be able to suppress them. Then you subtract the political rating of that clan hold. And the political rating, these are the warrens. And the political rating is the rightmost number in the warrens, so you get 2 and 3 more, so you subtract 5. So then it gets down to from 47 to 42. Political index. And then the rebel player places all that clan holds units there, and the clan holds are differentiated by the colors on the counters. And the units generally are a mix of rebel gangs and hardware brigades. There's 6 total units. You put 3 on Santi and 3 on Pearl. You can put them on any number on any warrens in that clan hold. And then the rebel player chooses 2 more clan holds that have risen so they're under the rebel control. He'll choose Zarkon clan hold and also Meklon. He thinks he can maybe outnumber the Union forces here, and he has a Union settlement in revolt here, so he thinks he can use that here as well. In Zarkon, the warrens have 3 political rating of 3, and then 1 more and 1 more, so total of 5. So we reduce 5 more. Goes from 42 to 38. Then in Meklon, got political rating of 1, 2 more, and 1 more, so total of 4. So now he's down to political rating of 34, a political index of 34, and the lower it gets, the better for the rebel player. And again, you place all that clan hold's units, distribute them among the warrens in that clan hold. And then the rebel player takes the mutant horde counters and put them in a container to kind of randomly draw during play. Then play begins with a game turn marker on July 24/19. Getting into the first turn here, and here's the abbreviated sequence of play. So the first phase is the Union recruitment phase. You go to the political index. You refer to which area in here. If you're in A, you'd be in this column, B in this column, C, etc. They're in column D. Go across, and this is the number of new steps that the Union gets. Steps is new units or repairing old units. Since they're in D, the number to the left is the mobile and to the right is the air. They get 4 mobile and 4 air. And you can distribute them wherever you want on Union settlements. You'll put, kind of set them over in this area. In the political index category A, they would skip the mutant step, but they're not, so they'll read across the mutant section. And it's 3/5. In the political index column D, where he's in the mutants, you roll 3 times. If you get a 5 or less, you place a mutant in a waste area. Nope. Yes. Yes. Place 2 mutants in waste areas. Set them up here in Yorkin. And in Zarkin. And again, since he's in column D, he also looks at nomads. And he rolls twice. If he gets 5 or less, he places 2 nomads in a totem where the randomly drawn nomad is. Yep. So 2 nomads, draw them randomly. And there's 3 different colors, 1 color for each of the territories. It's unclear which color goes with which. I'm assuming this color is for Dakota and this is for Nebraska. And you put them on any totem in those reserves. Then you do a die roll to see if the rising would be, you roll 1, and the modified die roll if it's 4 or less. And modifications are, you get pluses, you add plus to your die roll, which it makes it less likely for the rebel player to get a rise. If a ruin marker is placed in Warren's hex, or if a Union player destroys the settlement in combat, when a Union player rebuilds a dome, or if the rebel player announces he's forming a continental army. And then you subtract, so it'd be in the rebel player's favor if revolt marker is placed in a metro bubble or dome, Union settlement, non-revolt. When a rebel player destroys that settlement, the rating of unrestricted warrants, whenever the clan hold rises, you subtract number between 1 and 6 if the Union player announces he's activating his orbital strike stations, and subtract number between 1 and 6 if the Union player announces he's using nuclear option. None of those are happening. So he'll check if the clan hold in Yorkin has risen. And it's within 4 or less, it's 3, so that has risen. So he places all the forces of that clan there. So place all the forces of that clan on the Warrens in Yorkin, since it's risen. And then you subtract the political ratings of the Warrens there from the political index. So 2 and 2 is 4. You go from 34 down to 30. So now they're in the political index column C. And now we're to the next step in this phase, which is checking for revolts. And since we're in a new step, this new political index rating of 30 applies. So now we're we're in the column of C. And we check for revolt. So we can check twice, and if the modified result is 4 or less, the settlement revolts. And you modify them by adding 1 for each mobile unit in the settlement, and subtraction of 1 for every 2 rebel units in hex next to settlement, or you subtract 1 from the die if the settlement is in a clan hold that's risen, it contains 1 more war instead of not be destroyed. If it's a metro or bubble, you add 3 to the die roll. So they're not going to want to, the rebel player gets to choose which 2 to check, and he can check the same one twice. And he's not going to check a metro or bubble because that would add too much to the die roll. So he's going to check a dome. He'll check this one because this clan hold has risen. There are a fair number of units there though. He's got 2 mobile units, 2 are 2 mobile, but the 2 mobile will add to the die roll. So he's got, needs a 4, but he'll add 1 for each mobile unit, which is, so plus 2, but then he'll subtract 1 for it being a risen clan hold, so the result will be a plus 1 to the die roll. 3. 3 plus 1, 4. So he's within 4 or less, so this is risen, which basically means all the Union units are removed from there. And a revolt marker is placed there. Since that dome has revolted, you get credit for that political rating, and you reduce your political index by the 2 points of the political rating, so they go from 30 to 28. And for the ones in revolt, it's also got the ruin marker side. You draw it from this randomly from this pile, and we have it in revolt marker here, and the value here of 10 replaces the defense value of 12 to indicate it's in revolt. And since they're in political index column C here, they don't check for rebel nomads or for defections. If the political index column was in A or B, and if it wasn't fall weather, he would check to see if there's nomads. So you'd read across the R nomads, and then the value before is the number times you roll, and the number after if you roll less than that. You randomly draw 1 nomad horde and place it in any totem within the reserve that is occupied by 1 or more enemy units. And if you're in column A or B, you'd check for if there's defections. And defections would be defections from the Union nomad hordes or mutants defecting to the rebel side. And you would roll, the number on the left is the number times you roll for a given one. You can roll multiple for the same one. And on the right is the modified die roll. You need less than or equal to. And if you get less than or equal to that, you would flip them over to the rebel side. And if they're within Union units, if it's on a Union settlement, you would move it to an adjacent hex if that's possible. If it's not possible, you destroy it. Then you place a partisan column on each of the settlements in revolt. If we're during the fall weather phase, you'd only do it to these settlements in revolt below the fall weather line, which is there, but it's not fall weather now. And they're all beneath the fall weather line anyway. And if the revolt markers here are on their ruin side, you wouldn't place the partisan columns. Then on any game term after 2420 till the end of the game, the rebel player may announce he's forming a continental army. And then mobile units from all clans can be drafted into that. If he makes that announcement, the rebel player, rest of the game, ignore the -1 die roll. Normally required when the rebel mobile units from more than one clan attacking the same hex. And then all rebel gained and hardware brigades can freely trace line of supply to warrants in any clan hold that has risen. Now we're on to the rebel march phase. And to move, you expend movement points based on terrain. And here's the terrain key for the clear weather conditions and the foul weather. See how they're different between the two types of terrain. In addition to the terrain key, if you go through an enemy zone of control, and a zone of control would be if a settlement is controlled by the opponent, it'd be the 6 hexes around it, which are the zone of control. And if you go through an enemy zone of control, it affects your line of sight. It also affects your movement. It takes 2 movement points to go into an enemy zone of control and 1 to go out. Another factor to consider in the movement is whether a unit is supplied or not. It's different how you handle these for Union and Rebels. So the Union supply sources for Union units are metros, domes, and bubbles that don't contain a ruin or revolt marker. And Rebel sources are metro, dome, or bubbles that contain a revolt marker, or to any warren without a ruin marker. And for the Union, it's any line of sight that is any number of hexes to get from where your unit is back to that source. But for Rebels, the line of sight is limited by the distance as far as your movement points that are expended to get to that source. And if units are supplied, they can move their full movement cost, but if they're not supplied, they can only move half their movement cost. So you don't have to move all your units, but the Rebels they'll kind of focus on this area here and see if they can get rid of the Union. So the forces in Sonoma here both have a movement point allowance of 14. And then we're going to go over towards Nosco. Terrain, you have broken, depends which ways they go. They'll go across the rough, go through the clear here. So it'd be, we're currently in clear weather, not foul. So it's 4 to go across the rough terrain, and then 1 for clear. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Similarly, these forces move down from Texaco. They're exposing a little bit here, but they don't feel that the Union can get in there. They have 10 movement points. And total movement was, you also need to account for the coming into the zone of control. These 2 units, you would have been the rough, which is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is in their allowance. And similarly for these, 1, 5, and then 2 more, so 7's within their allowance. Then they'll have some forces go here against New Roads. Movement allowance of 14. And these both can trace their supplies back to their source. It's going across Wild. He'll come down here from Victoria. And different clans are supporting, so there will be an effect of that. He's going across Forest, which is 2. For these forces, When you go across to wild, it's 2, 2, 2, another 2, another 2, so 6, plus zone of control, so total of 8. Here, to the forest, 2, 2, 2, so it's 6 plus another 2, 8, which is within their range. So there will be 2 different attacks happening. All these rebel forces will be going against the units in this hex, which are the Dome Nazco, a Union patrol fleet, and a Union light division. So the attack ratings are the first number, so it's 6, another 6, another 6, 24, 18, 24, 42. Defense rating of, that's the second number, 6, 4, and 12, so 22. The range of the attacking units is 2, so they're well within the range for the attack. And when you attack a hex, you attack all the items in the hex. And then you look if there's support items, and support would be settlements or air units of the defending player that is within range. And the closest would be some air units up here in New Denver, but their range is 4, so they're well beyond the range, so they can't provide any support. So the combat ratio is 42 to 22, which is basically 2 to 1. And it's in a dome. It's in a dome, ratio of 2 to 1. So looking at this column here, these would be the die rolls. And then modifiers. So you had 1 if the defenders in a clear barrier hex, and 1 more Union heavy divisions are participating in the attack, and that's not applicable, so that doesn't count. Add 1 for each full unit, ignore fractions, or settlement in the defender's hex. So it's a settlement. And he's got 2 full units, so you add 3 to that. So it's plus 3 to the die roll. Subtract 2 if the hex under attack is north of the weather line during the foul weather game turn, and that's not the case. Subtract 1 of the rebel players using mobile units from more than one clan to attack the hex. He's not announced he's formation of Continental Army, and he's only got the 1 clan attacking, so that doesn't apply. So the result is a plus 3 modification to the die roll. Roll in the combat table. 1. So dome. 1 plus 3 is 4. The attacker loses 1 step, and defender loses 1 step. Which basically means you flip over a full unit to reduce strength, and we'll flip over this air unit. And you'll flip over this mobile unit. And now they're on their reduced strength levels. Now checking out the combat at the bubble in New Roads. The attacking units, attacking forces are 6 plus 6, 12, 6 plus 6, 24. And the defenders, attackers may have bit off more than they can chew here, we'll see. It's 2 plus 15 plus 8, so up to 17, 25, 29. See if there's any supporting units. There's no Union settlements or air support within their range, so that's not no support. The attackers are within their range of 2 to attack. Die roll modifications. Defenders not in clear barrier hex, that doesn't apply. one for each full unit or settlement. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. So plus 4. Unit player's not using nuclear option yet. Subtract whether it's fall, it's not. Subtract if the role player is using bubble units from more than one clan. And it's not a continental army, and there are forces from multiple clans, so you subtract 1 for that. So the result is a 4 minus 1 or plus 3. So it's basically a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's in a bubble. 3. Three plus 3, so 6. So the number before is the number lost by the attacker, and after the slash is the number lost by the defender. The attacker loses 2, defender loses 4 steps. We'll have these two a reduced strength, so losing these 2 steps. For the attacker, defender loses 4 steps. He'll go reduced. He'll be reduced. He'll be reduced. And then I'll have him eliminated, so it's a total of 4 steps. During the union reaction phase, they can move their supplied units up to half the movement points. And they can also do teleportation. And they'll do some teleportation, and they have to expend all their available, movement points to do that. They can go from any friendly settlement to another. So he'll teleport from this location to Nesco. He'll also teleport to Nesco. Other forces, they'll kind of stay where they're at. Rebel exploitation phase. Figure out which units are supplied, and then you can move the supplied units up to their full movement rating. You move these down to get in here. Got a movement of 6, and you'll go to forest, which is 2 to 6. That's all we'll do for that. Then in march phase, they can move their units up to their full movement points, and as long as they can trace back to supply and they're not limited by movement points to get back to their supply. So movement is 8. You'll go across broken, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you would need 2. You need 1 to go in the clear training, then 2 more to go in the zone of control, so we can't quite make it there. You'll similarly move down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And these hordes are under their control as well, but they'll just stay there. That's all the movement he'll do. Rebel reaction phase, they can move up to half their movement points for supplied units, and check supply at the beginning of the movement. So he can move, it's got a total of 10, which reduces to 5. It would cost him 2 to go to forest, and it'd cost him 6 to go across the barrier, or 2 more to go here. So it'd be 4 plus then 6 to get in that zone of control. You can't quite make it. But he'll move here. He has to be careful too, because supply also affects combat, and if you're out of the supply range at the start of combat, you lose half your strength. That's as far as he can go. Everybody else will stay where they are. To make it interesting, usually at the beginning of when you get to the game turn phase, you just decide if you're going to do either the nuclear strike option or the orbital strike. You decide either you're going to do nuclear capability or the Union strike station, and they're going to decide they're going to use they've decided they're going to use the orbital strike station, and that gives you an attack of 60 against anywhere on the map, and they'll use that against this hex, which has a defense of 4, but they're also in a clear hex, which is +1, so it's 60 versus 5. The negative effect of that, though, is that you have to roll a die, and then whatever die roll you do reduces the political index. So it's significant. He reduces his political index from 28 to 22, but he's still in column C. So the combat is 60 versus 4, or 60 versus 5, which is 10 to 1, on clear terrain, which is 6 to 1 is the highest you can go. Two plus 1, so 3, because it's +1 since it's on clear terrain. The attacker and the attacker from the orbital strike station can never lose units, but the defender loses 3 stops, which is pretty significant. So he was already at half, so he goes off, he goes to half, and then he goes off, so it's totally wiped out that section. And then he'll do one more combat. So it's 4, 12, 18. Against defenders 2 and 6, so 8. 18 versus 8. There's no other modification, so it's 2 to 1, and he's in a broken area. Broken 2 to 1, 2. Actually, the attacker loses 2 steps, which isn't great. Takes him reduced, and then takes off the reduced one, so that's 2 steps he takes off. Then you do an exploitation phase. You can see which units are supplied, and then move any or all the supplied mobile land units up to their full movement rating. And he'll do a teleportation again. He'll teleport this unit to this location. And that's the only thing we'll do in the exploitation. Then the rebel reinforcement phase. Chicks gets reinforcements on the record track, and if there's a box in there, a colored box or a black box, it says he gets reinforcements. And reinforcements would be he had 4 steps of the appropriate clan to his forces for each of the clan's warrants that are not destroyed, but he doesn't get reinforcements this turn. And game turn record phase. If it's less than 5 or greater than 45, game's over. It's not the case. December, then the nomad hordes are in, or their winters, so they're not used. If New Denver is ruined, so if it's in a ruin or revolt marker, the PI stage is B, C, D, or E. Or if the Union players previously activated the strike station and skipped this step. So you'd normally only activate it on if the index is A, but I showed that for demonstration purposes. If the stage is C, D, or E, you can't declare the nuclear option yet. Then you move the game turn marker to the next box, to next month. Then proceed to the game. So it's the Mega War, which appeared in Ares magazine in 1983. It's from SPI and TSR. It's a great game. It's got a lot going on for it. I like how it does. A lot of it's based around the politics of the effective forces and damage you do to settlements. But there's combat. Of course, you got your standard. You got like different terrain effect. Somewhat asymmetrical because you can do like teleportation for the Union units. Great speculative history of post-nuclear apocalypse. Fairly straightforward combat. You have mixes of, you have nomads and mutants and effects of wastelands, and you see the negative effects of using nuclear strikes on the politics. You have to kind of weigh the politics versus doing different types of combat. And you have air units, mobile units. So a lot of great stuff. Going on. It's very unique. I like how it's presented. Definitely recommend it. Give it an 8 out of 10. Thanks a lot.